Hey, it's Patrick from J&P Cycles, and let's talk a little bit about some basic front-end motorcycle geometry and how that would affect you. If you plan on building a motorcycle or modifying your current motorcycle, or if you're shopping for a motorcycle, these are dimensions that are gonna directly affect how you use and handle your motorcycle. So let's get a couple of the basics out of the way. Now, this is a hardtail frame. Obviously you can see that. So we're not gonna get into swing arm geometry and how the pivot would affect things and anti-squat. We're gonna basically focus on the front half of the motorcycle. But the first thing I wanna get out of the way is wheelbase. Wheelbase is the distance between the two axles. So if you see a measurement, say you're looking at a motorcycle and it lists that wheelbase is the distance between the two axles on your motorcycle. It's not the overall length, it's just the distance between there. And how that would affect the motorcycle, generally a longer motorcycle is a slower handling motorcycle, but a more stable motorcycle. And in some extreme cases, like drag racing or hill climbing, you'll see guys extend the swing arms or the back length of the motorcycle to keep the front ends down. And effectively what that does is it kind of moves the weight to the front of the motorcycle by extending the rear of the motorcycle. For wheelbase, that's just the distance between those two axles. Now, let's go up here to something we hear a lot more about, rake and trail, and they are kind of inexorably linked together. And how we figure that rake is there'll be a vertical line through the front axle right here. And then there's going to be another line, an imaginary line that goes through the neck. And they intersect down there at the bottom. And up here we're left with our rake number. And a lot of times on choppers, you'll see bikes that have like extreme rake angles, really long front ends kicked way out. Those are bigger rake numbers, where conversely, on like a sport bike or a supermoto bike, you're going to see more tucked in front ends, steeper rake angles. But typically, if you're looking at a cruiser, they're gonna be somewhere in the 30-degree range, where if you're looking at something that's a little quick handling, it's gonna be down the 20-degree range. And what that does is that tucks that front end kind of farther under the bike and makes it quicker handling. Now, that can also affect stability of the bike, because that directly affects the trail. Where we have this rake number up here, we have the same vertical line here, the same imaginary line. We have the same line coming through the neck of the bike. That length at the bottom is our trail. So basically, from the contact patch that comes down here to where this imaginary line extends out to, that is our trail number. And trail, again, kind of affects the stability of the bike. Bikes like supermoto bikes and sport bikes are gonna have less of a trail number. They're gonna turn in quicker. Whereas like a cruiser, like a Sportster or something like that, they're gonna have a longer trail number. It's gonna be a slower handling bike, but it's also going to be a very stable bike. Now you're gonna see some cheat modes kind of engaged on sport bikes that have really, really small trail numbers. You put a steering dampener on those bikes, you can kind of, you can handle those stability issues, so to speak. Now, a lot of things when you make changes up here will affect that trail number. Something like the diameter of the front wheel, going from a 19 to a 21, that's going to affect your trail number. Something like sliding your tubes up in the trees is going to not only affect the ride height, it's going to slide it down, but it's also going to affect that trail number. You slide those tubes up in there, and that's going to make the bike turn in just a little bit quicker. You may sacrifice a little bit of stability, and you're also going to affect your ride height. Now, another thing is the offset in the trees. So your forks that are attached to your front wheel obviously aren't attached to the neck of the bike. They're attached to the triple clamps. And the triple clamps, whether they be out here or in here, that's called offset. All those things we'll get into in a more in-depth video, but just know when you change those things, or you add rake trees, that affects your handling of your motorcycle. It affects the trail down here and determines how quickly or slowly that bike turns in, and can also affect the stability, at speed. So when you're looking to buy a new motorcycle, looking to maybe modify your motorcycle, just take into account what these changes can do to your bike as it affects you riding it. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to drop us a comment. Go ride those motorcycles.